Hey everyone, thanks for tuning back in to Who's the Buzz, presented by Region Buzz 219. I'm Chase Wardian, and here we have James Gedda.
What's up, man? Good to see you.
You as well. It's been a couple years now, I think, since we've
Yeah,
been able to actually get together.
yeah, it's been a little bit. There's like I forget if it was still during the pandemic or just after the pandemic, but for a little bit I was coming over here like every couple weeks doing a live stream. I
Yeah,
remember.
no, and that
Yeah,
was, so you were definitely our most regular person
yeah,
doing those, and
yeah. That was fun, man.
it was fun.
I don't miss the live stream era though. I
No,
will
I don't
say
miss it.
that's. Um, it's funny between doing those and I was doing the streams at Jack Whittle's house where
Right.
we would do baking beforehand, and now it felt like every week I was getting a reminder of those streams from like Facebook memories and stuff. I was like, oh, those were good times, but I'm glad to be back to playing real shows.
Oh,
You know?
absolutely. Yeah, no, I would not. I'm glad we were able to do it to help everybody out,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
let's hope we don't have to do it that way
yeah,
again.
yeah, for real.
No. I am actually gonna circle back to just what you were telling me just before we started with
Yeah,
you saying how you just passed you. So any of you that know that have been to the studio, we used to have the Oriental buffet right out front, and that's where a lot of people were able to find our
hmm,
location. They closed during COVID, and then that building got torn down, and it was
yeah,
just an empty lot for a while. And so everyone was like, "Yeah, no, we just see the empty lot. They
yeah,
pass it sometimes, miss that." Now we have this huge dealership building
yeah, yeah,
next door, and can't say it was the easiest construction
yeah.
job
Right, yeah, especially right next to
to
a
a recording studio.
space. Yeah,
No, it didn't. We were able to make it work, but there were a few times that the noise did start to bleed in,
yeah,
and I mean, nothing some gates can't fix.
right,
But no, we've had some people like, "Are you still there?" And we're like, "Yeah, no, you just
yeah,
can't see the building
yeah.
anymore."
No, I completely passed it just a few minutes ago, and I had to circle back because yeah, I was looking for the Chinese buffet or the empty
Right.
lot or whatever. Like yeah, that's so it goes.
No, and I told Nick because we were back and forth like, well, is this a good thing? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And I tried. I'm like, well, the lot looks a lot better because that parking lot had overgrown,
Yeah, it
overgrown
wasn't
stuff.
a good parking lot.
No,
Yeah,
no, it was
yeah,
torn up and all this and that. And it was like, so it looks better. Yes, it's a big dealership, but on our side, we have free security now.
yeah, yeah.
They have
That's true.
cameras wrapped around that
Right?
building, like.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a
That
good
place
point.
is covered. So,
Yeah,
like, if we have any issues, we're just going to go knock on their door and be like, hey, we need that camera
yeah,
footage. We got
yeah.
whatever happened.
That's
So,
a good call. Yeah, I hadn't
so
thought
I'm trying
about
to
that.
ease Nick's mind. Be like, hey, we have free cameras.
Right? Yeah,
We're going to take what we can get
yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. You got to take the good with the bad because it's there. You can't do
Right.
anything about it.
No. um, with that also, so I was actually just looking because I know I don't think I was ever a part of it because I joined the company late 2018. Your Thick as Thieves EP, that
Yeah.
came out March of 2019, right? Or at least that's what Spotify
I
says.
think okay. If Spotify says that, yeah,
Okay.
it's hard to
Okay,
hard to
fair.
say.
I didn't know
Yeah.
if you did.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's I always forget. Yeah, because I had two EPs in 2 years. And
Okay.
yeah, I guess the second one was 2020. It's hard to think of anything coming out in 2020.
Right.
But, yeah, I suppose so. But yeah, recorded that at the old Reason Buzz Studios.
That's what I was about to say. Were you at was it the one in Maryville on Broadway then?
Um,
Or were you?
No.
'cause- So it was the Highland one.
Yes, it was the
Okay.
Highland one.
Gotcha.
Up 41. Yeah.
So yeah, so then you definitely recorded that before I was even with the company.
Yeah,
then.
yeah, no, it was just Nick then. Yeah,
Yep.
that was fun though. It was a good learning experience. That stuff still comes up on my Spotify every
Yeah.
now and then. Yeah, that was a fun project, and yeah, then like relatively quick to get out the door too, since it's just solo acoustic thing. Like,
Right.
been working on a full band album for coming up on a year now, and
Really?
that's still like, this whole year as we've been working on, it's like, oh yeah, this could probably be like a late spring album to, oh, it's probably going to be a summer album to like, oh, it's going to be a fall album to now, realistically, thinking about a realistic promotional cycle, like even if we finish tomorrow, it's gonna be a spring 2024 album. And that's okay because I'd rather take all the time it needs and have it done and have it be good
Absolutely.
than feel like I need to meet some kind of deadline. You
Right.
know? Yeah.
Who's your band in
So
then?
for that, the principal band is Kevin Martirosian on drums, Mark Adrian on bass, and Jack Whittle on lead guitar.
Nice.
And that's some of the most common recurring members of the Big Breakfast. as
Yep.
it were. But I'm planning on having, you know, guest spots and all that, you know, because I just want to try and, for certain songs, I want to get as many hands on the ball as I can,
Sure.
you know, especially, you know, from coming up in this local music scene where everything's so jammy and so, you know, improvisational and people jumping in, this and that, right? I want to get a little taste of that. So,
Yeah, and
yeah,
capitalize it into an album and
right. Yeah. Yeah. Like if it like me and Jack have been working on the guitar parts lately, and you know, it's just everything we work on, I get more and more excited for all the pieces to come together.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
No, very cool. Outside of music, what do you do for work? Are you a full-time musician?
Full time
Okay.
right now. I used to work retail as a side gig, but then when I quit doing that, I was able to put more time into the music. And, you know, it took a few years to build it back up, but, you know, being able to put more time into booking and promotion and planning and things like that, you know, last year I did better playing just music than I ever did working retail or
Wow.
whatever. So, you know, still not great because it's the world we live in, you know, but yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. And, you know, every year has been slowly better and better. So, yeah, still just straight music.
That's good.
Yeah, planning on doubling down on all that too. Between the album coming out, wanting to hit the road more, just had to get a new set of wheels, so that gives me a little bit more incentive to. I gotta make sure I keep the money coming in. You know.
There you go. What'd you end up getting?
So it's a 2017 Buick Encore.
Okay.
It's a nice car. My dad set it up through his car guy. I'm the one paying for it, but you know, it was just some old lady's car that she barely used, so it's got like 21,000 miles on it. Which
There
is
you
pretty
go.
good. Yeah. And honestly, at first I was worried because I used to drive a big SUV that had a bunch of storage and all that, and I could fit 4 people and probably 3 people's worth of gear in there. Whereas this, it's more, you know, it's 2 people and 2 people's worth of gear, right? But that's okay for 90% of the driving to gigs I'm doing. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's not more car than I need. I was worried it'd be less, but no, it's good. I've been driving it around for about 3 weeks or so now.
Nice.
Yeah.
So 2017, that's 6 years.
Yeah.
So you'll say what? You're probably going to come up on needing emissions this year?
Still figuring that out.
Okay.
Yeah. It's,
I know there's a weird
I just
rule
got
with
the
that.
I just got the thing for going to the BMV and doing the registration.
Okay, so you
this
might
past
be
week.
okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm going through an issue with that right now with my
Yeah.
car.
Oh, I hear you. That was. Yeah, I'm not trying to get into car stuff, but as hard as my SUV was dying, it was also coming up in the back of my head like, oh, Christ, and then next year's going to be emissions, and there's going to be 6 things wrong with it. And, yeah.
Good old only 2 counties in Indiana,
Yeah.
Lake
Really?
and Porter. Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
Yeah, I did a whole project on that in high school. And
Okay.
No, it's always irritated me because it's not the pedestrian cars that cause
Right.
most of the emissions anyways. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of the through traffic. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we'll get outside that car
Yeah.
conversation.
Because I don't have much expertise in that field at all.
No, I know basic stuff, and that's probably everything I just shared is about what I know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I get you.
what do you do besides music, though?
You know, it feels like there's barely room for anything else sometimes. You know,
That's fair.
Yeah, I live with family currently, and so just helping out with stuff like that. You know, basically taking care of stuff around the house, doing errands that need running. You know, for fun. You know, it's just really. It's a lot of time if I have a night off, like I'll go out to a jam, you know,
Yep.
either the Finnegan's one on Tuesday or the New Docks one on Wednesday, or
Which docks? Is it the Dyer one?
it's the one on Calumet.
Yeah, that's Dyer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Doc Smokehouse. They just started up about a month ago. The Fresh
Oh,
Hops
okay.
Boys. It's good. And I think it's a smart decision by the Docs people. They run a wing special on the night of the jam night. So
Yes. No, that is that's just smart
That's
promoting right
that's
there.
just smart business. Yeah, but you know, it's everything. It kind of circles back to music. You know.
Okay.
You know, other than that, you know, if I just have a night off, I occasionally have nights where I just don't do anything and I don't talk to anybody. You know, just stay in a room and play video games or whatever.
There you
But,
go. Yeah. That's my kind of night.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, you have to be social by the nature of the job.
Absolutely.
Right? And I've kind of gotten used to that, schmoozing and talking to people and all that. But really, I'm not an inherently very social person. So
Neither am I.
so it gets to be nights where I just need to completely recharge my batteries and not think about anything, not talk to anyone. Definitely need those nights.
I mean, this podcast is a huge change for me because, as you've known,
Yeah.
I've always been behind the camera.
Totally. Yeah.
And
yeah.
so-
I was wondering about that actually. I think it was like, man, I've never had like a super extended conversation with Chase. It's always
No.
just kind of pleasantries while we were setting up and whatever
Right.
else,
I was going to say, no. And so
Whereas I could talk to Kazotas for 4 hours.
Exactly.
Speaking of Nick, hope you're doing good, brother.
No,
We're all
absolutely.
thinking about you, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and that was one thing I talked to him about because and actually, a lot of it became a scheduling thing.
Yeah.
Because, as you know as well, he is a full-time musician. He also
Yeah.
teaches here, and he's doing everything. And I work a couple other jobs outside of the studio.
Yeah.
And so us trying to get me and him together to try and record this podcast,
Yeah.
as well as get a guest in at the same time to
Yeah.
make it all work together, it just became too much.
Right. No, I get that.
And so this is the second episode, and so far, working out the kinks, but things have been
Yeah.
going pretty well with
Yeah.
trying to run audio, video, and hosting. So
Yeah.
it's definitely been a
Yeah, wearing a few different hats. Yeah.
yeah. No, that, and then the big thing is like being more social about it, because a lot
Yeah.
of the people that come through here with doing more video now and sometimes audio. It is a lot of just those small conversations in
Yeah.
between takes and stuff
Right.
like that. I never get to sit down and actually get to know
Yeah.
the artist that I'm recording. And
Right.
it helps a lot more to know that artist,
Yeah,
to
definitely.
be able to, especially when it comes to video, trying to get the vision that they want. Like, there's a lot of different things that I can dive into, but then it'll turn into a Kazonas conversation, and we'll
Yeah.
have a 4-hour conversation
Yeah.
about. But no, it's definitely been a different viewpoint sitting in front of the camera instead of sitting
Yeah.
behind. But I've enjoyed it so far, and it's
It's good, man.
definitely
Yeah.
interesting to be a part of all of this now. So when you recorded your 2019 EP with us,
Yeah.
where were you at musically with that? Were you a full-time musician then, or were you still in retail?
I was still working retail then, and in terms of recording, it was the first bit of proper recording I had done basically ever. Like, I had a couple other things before, but it was still, that was the first time I took it like super duper seriously. And I wasn't gonna do it for a while. It was something like the people who know me will say I'm a guy that intends to do a lot of things that doesn't do them. So I try and surround myself with people that know I need a little kick in the pants sometimes to get going. Like Jack Whittle's good about that. Kazona's also very good about that. Not that I don't want to say I'm lazy but to describe it generously, I'm just. Was it like an object at rest stays at rest? Like that's kind of how unless acted upon by an outside force. So that's kind of how I am. But yeah, me and Jack and Nick got together at Nick's house one night a few months before that. And we were just, jamming and having some pizza and just hanging out. And all of a sudden, Nick looks at Jack and says, "So you want to do this?" And he was like, "Yeah." And while I'm sitting down, they basically corner me and say, "When the hell are you going to record something? You have good songs. You're playing like Nick's running a production studio. He says, when are you going to record something? Because you need to." And then, I'm like, "Oh, I know, I will, I need to." It's like, no, you need to make a plan. You don't just say you're going to, which is what I needed to hear. And finally, Nick made me an offer I couldn't refuse, where he says, "All right, I'm going to make you an offer to record your EP and help you put it out, but this price goes away the second you leave this house, right? Unless we agree to it and start making a plan right now." So that's what I needed to hear. That's how that came about. And then, it was just going into the studio. I think we did it over like 2 or 3 days between recording guitar and recording vocal. And yeah, came together pretty quick. And pretty proud of how that turned out.
So were you sitting on those songs for a while then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think a lot of them. I forget exactly the timeline. Like songs. Sometimes it really bums me out to think about how old some of my songs are, right? It's like when you see kids getting older, right? Because in my mind, every song I ever wrote, it's either brand new or I wrote it last year. But no, it's like I'll think about this at gigs when I'm introducing original songs. When I wrote this song 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. I guess it becomes something like that. Yeah, I've been sitting on the songs for a while just because. When I get in a good writing mood, I write a bunch of stuff in a relatively short span. Then I just don't write for a while.
Yeah.
So it's always just what's like the new crop of songs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's another reason why I wanted to get this full band album out because I'm still just constantly writing stuff. So it's like the songs that are going to be on the album are they're old hats now. They're kind of my standards, with maybe one or two exceptions that kind of push their way to the front. But for a while those were my new songs, and now, yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's just like, well, I'm old.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. I think one of my songs that I play just about every gig, it's a song of mine called Lonesome Lover's Lullaby. And I can't remember exactly. I'd have to look up like the date on the file with the lyrics. I think that song's like 7 or 8 years old. And that really makes me think. Like if a song was a person, it'd be old enough to have a personality, right?
Yeah. But yeah, those live streams, were 3 years ago now?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, no, that doesn't feel
2020,
right.
last year, right?
Yeah,
that's
no, and
yeah, it boggles the mind, man.
Me and Leanne had that recollection too, and we were just like, nope, that was 2 years ago when she did the other podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and then we were talking about high school because my freshman year was her senior year.
Okay, yeah.
And so. And that we only had jazz band together, and that's all. So we knew each other then, and then all of a sudden it's like, cool. 6 years later, she's now at the studio, and it's like, all right, cool. But I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm 23, so like,
right.
And I'm like,
oh, shut up, then. You don't get to talk about.
And
getting
I'm not
older.
talking about
no.
Yeah, and here we go. Yep, this is always what I get.
No, I get it though. It's like, once you're out of high school, like every year it just goes by quicker and quicker. Before you know it, you're in August. Right?
No, and that's what I'm starting to realize. It's like, because I don't feel old.
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to have those memories where I'm looking back on stuff from high school, and I'm like, all right, cool, that's 6 years ago. And before long, it's going to be 10 years ago and 15.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if I'm ready.
No, I hear you. I think I'm coming. Let's say I graduated 2007. So, I think I'm coming up on what would be my 15-year reunion because the 10-year reunion was several years ago. So it's one of those things, man. It just gets away from it. Also, thank you for establishing we can swear on this thing because I was wondering and I forgot to ask till we started recording, and I had a feeling, but you also never know with content these days, right? Where it's like on YouTube, you can't swear in the first 2 minutes of a video.
Yeah, no, there's certain
something like
things
that,
there.
and I don't know how it is with podcast platforms or whatever. So I wasn't entirely sure, but thank you.
Yeah, I think, and Nick might be just getting in on this too, but as far as I'm concerned, this is my project. I'm partner here now, so this is my decision.
Right, there you go.
As of right now, we don't have any sponsors.
Okay.
So this is our thing. I'm not going to be dropping F-bombs and stuff like that.
But when it comes up organically in the conversation, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, I get you.
And then, I mean, sure, if we come across a sponsor or whatever, and they're like, hey, we want to keep this a little more language friendly, then sure, we'll work with that.
PG-13,
then no problems with that.
Yeah. Upgrading equipment, that's always something. That's another thing gets away from you time-wise, where I was, my same standard microphone I use for all my gigs, I was sitting there thinking about last night. It's still holding up pretty good. It's a Sennheiser, whatever the equivalent of like a 58 is.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, I've had this for a while. Like, I've had this stand that's barely holding up for a while now. And, you start thinking about what you need to upgrade and replace. I got this tiny little PA that I still use for my solo stuff. It's like, well, that could probably stand to be a little bit more, but yeah.
Yeah, no, and I mean, that's what we've done here too, because the lights that we're using now, they're a little newer. We've had those two cameras for a while, but we've gotten newer lenses now, and then, like I said, that camera's newer, and it's just like, cool, some things start coming in, and you start shipping things out. Yeah, no, because you can't, I mean, especially in this industry, stuff's not cheap.
Yeah, no, it sure ain't.
I mean, this economy stuff's definitely not cheap.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't get ground beef for lower than $4.50 a pound half the time.
Like yeah. or like those big family packs of chicken breast. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I mean, I was gonna say I'll see him at Strax, and it's like cool, 99 cents a pound, and I'm like, yes, this
Yeah.
is my dinner for the next week and a
Oh
half.
yeah, that's what you got to do. Yeah.
God, so in August we have that event coming up.
Yeah, yeah. Nick reached out to me about that. It's gonna be a big breakfast show.
Yep.
It's gonna be I believe it's me, Mark Adrian on lead guitar, Matt Cartwright on bass, and Kevin Martirosian on drums.
Cool.
So yeah, that's a good lineup. I like working with all those guys. It should be fun. It's for a good cause, which
Absolutely.
is nice. That's I take any excuse to play a full band show as it is. But especially if it's helping folks out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will. Nick gave me a note when we were talking about we're putting it all together. He says, by the way, just try and keep it kind of up tempo, keep it kind of happy, because Nick knows, and Nick's a similar way where we like our sad songs, we like our slow heartbreaking songs, but considering it's a benefit and all that. It's like,
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely lighter, more danceable sort of fare.
Yeah. No, it'll be a good time though.
Yeah.
August 26th, I believe.
Yeah,
correct?
26th.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know how the metrics of it work, but I feel like most people who are going to catch this are probably going to catch it around the time it airs.
Right.
Yeah.
Or it'll blow up in like 6 months, and then it'll.
That'd be great.
Yeah, no,
That'd be
I'd
cool.
love that. That's kind of what I'm going for.
Yeah.
Just,
maybe tomorrow one of my Spotify singles will get 100,000 plays out of nowhere.
Yeah, right.
But,
No, I was gonna say with.
and from those 100,000 plays, I'd make $3.
There you go. Woo!
Thanks, Spotify.
And that's about what this podcast will do in that as well with Spotify. So,
Yeah.
But no, and that's actually another thing that we're changing with this. The first year the app was out, I didn't use TikTok.
Yeah.
I looked at that and I was like, no.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna get sucked into that.
There's a fun part about getting older is you can be really choosy about which social media trains you jump on.
Yeah.
Like, granted, I'm being in the entertainment business, you have to kind of try keep up a little bit, or at least you ought to. So, but it's like, it took me a while before I jumped on TikTok, and I have one. I still barely use it. I could stand to use it better, because certain guys do really well. Certain folks with using it to promote their music, but also just like a lot of social media, it's like it can't just be promotion. Here's my thing, click on this, to help me out. It's like it works better when it feels organic and when you let a little bit of personality come through. Like you get a sense of like the person behind the music and behind the promotional cycle.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and hence this show. So, like, I had a couple clips from the podcast that went up for Leanne's on our page.
Yeah.
I got a few more coming up, and then I'm sure this will probably now end up being one of the clips just because we're talking directly about it.
Yeah.
But, that goes up there, and it's because I don't think I've seen a social media platform push people's like pages so fast.
Yeah.
Like when it gets found, things just seem to take off so fast.
Yeah. It's
I haven't seen that.
If you get
before on
picked up by
anything
the
else.
current, you're a mile downstream before you know it. Yeah.
No.
That's
so
been
weird.
interesting to see happen to people. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not like an expert on the subject, but I felt like a couple years ago or something like that. Part of the reason I even jumped on TikTok was this person I follow. She's a songwriter down in Nashville. I shared like an open mic with her at the Bluebird Cafe one time. It was a whole bunch of people. She was like 2 or 3 people after me, and she was based in Nashville. She was doing more like the pop country kind of style, but she was good at it, and she was a good writer. And then I saw through Instagram that she had a TikTok that absolutely blew up of her just like singing one of her songs in the car with like putting the lyrics up as they come up.
Right.
Like 10 million views or something like that. And then all of a sudden, it's like that built up to building up a fan base. And, she's going for like a younger market and all that. But now all of a sudden, it's like she's signed to a label and she's touring across the country. It's like you start to see the utility of it. It's a game and it's a dice roll like everything else, But you can't ignore opportunities to break through to, especially in the to a younger demographic, like seems to still be the the demographic on TikTok. I don't know if it still is. I'm usually behind on things, so if I'm on it, maybe not.
It's all over the place.
But. Yeah, but it's you start to figure out where the age groups are on your various social medias, right?
Right.
Like Facebook is for the kind of our parents sort of crowd, and you still need a Facebook to be a local musician.
Yes, no.
In spite of how frustrating it can be, my Facebook page has been suspended for 6 months, and now I just post everything on my personal page. That's a different conversation.
Oh yeah, no. I had to start using Facebook because of when I joined this company.
Yeah.
I didn't. I mean, I had one, but I never used it.
Yeah. No, I probably would have deleted mine years ago if I didn't play music for a living. You know? But yeah, and then like Instagram is somewhere younger than that now. It seems like TikTok and things like that are like the younger crowd than that. So it's they all have their utility for sure. I have a buddy down in Oklahoma who I play music with sometimes. Actually going to be doing some shows with him later this month, Matt Moran. But he very funny on TikTok, just as like little sketch videos, little one-off things, whatever. And he's had a few of those videos blow up to the point where he had to like separate it from his music promotion.
Oh,
because
really?
he was getting like the wrong kind of people popping up when he was posting about shows or songs he's recording or this or that. So it's it creates its own problems as well. Like even if you blow up or whatever that means.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's weird, and the algorithm makes no sense to me.
Yeah,
I'm good with all this tech stuff, but man, that just it is still over my head.
I don't even bother trying to understand that. I just view it as like I said, like a dice roll.
Yeah.
It's like because you can try and chase it and try and make like good SEO or whatever, to like post in a way that favors you. But it's like, it's one of those things too where it's like if I feel like if I find out how to do that, manipulate that, then surely the tricks have evolved past what I'm learning. It's like any club that would have me as a member, I wouldn't join.
Yeah. No, and then there's a lot of people that they almost feed too much into it.
Yeah.
Like we were saying, they focus too much on trying to post and all that. And like I understand, you got to post to like gain your following.
Yeah.
But in my eyes, you could have 10 million views per video and all of these followers and stuff like that. But if your music isn't good, then who cares?
Yeah, right. There's definitely a few people, who do real good numbers on social media. Then you hear them sing, and it's like, well, okay.
Yeah,
that's
and if they're happy, that's all that matters.
Right. Yeah,
but if I were to get back into actually playing, because I don't play much anymore, if I had a band or whatever, I feel like I would much rather. I mean, granted, I'd love to have 10 million followers. I'm not even going to try and say that that's not a thing. But if they don't like my music, then I don't know what the point is at that point. Because, I'm doing it for me, but there's something about creating music that others enjoy that people can sing along to. I'd much rather have a page with 200, 2,000 followers and have my local shows where they show up and they're singing my songs.
I was thinking about this. I think about this every now and then as a songwriter. It's like, I get overwhelmed sometimes just by being a relatively unsuccessful local to regional musician. Sometimes even that stresses me out too much. So I can't imagine like being like who quote unquote like making it or being famous or whatever. It's like the ideal for me might just be like have somebody well known play one of my songs and I can just cash the checks for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this with one of the biggest country songs right now is cover of Fast Car, the Tracy Chapman song from the 90s.
Okay.
And like say what you will about the quality of the recording or the track or whatever, it's fine. Like I wouldn't cover that song. But it's and not that Tracy Chapman is some unknown, not at all. But now she just gets to cash those checks for the next 10 years or however much from having a number one country song just for something she did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
More than 20 years ago now. But
30.
Or Dolly Parton, also super successful in her own right, but also she's still making bank off of Whitney Houston's cover of "I Will Always Love You." People don't even know she wrote that song, but she's laughing all the way to the bank about it, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way at that point.
Right, for sure.
Sign right here, cash it, done.
And you go down to Nashville and you go to some of these writers' rounds, and there's a bunch of people who like you'll see this guy, you wouldn't recognize him. He just looks like somebody you pass at the store, but it's like, oh, he wrote a hit song for Faith Hill back in the day.
Yeah.
Or, this person wrote that, or or whatever. So it's you start to see why like the songwriting industry itself is such a hustle down there because it only takes a couple really.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to the money in the industry, it seems like that's a lot more where people make their money anyways, is
Yeah,
in writing and
residuals and
producing.
royalties and yeah, compared to whatever you actually get from like the streaming or from
Right.
I think it's kind of always been the story is you make money on the publishing,
Yeah.
with, as opposed to like the performance.
Yeah. So, you've talked about uh, the open mic in Nashville. Where else have you been playing? Because I know obviously you play around the region. Do you travel outside of the region a
I'm
lot?
trying to do that more, just because just trying to do original music and get that out there. Right? It's there's only so many places that around here that are legitimately supportive of original music versus just tolerating it.
Right.
So I'm trying to get out there more. I've been trying to network with more musicians of like my tier and my genre and all that. That was talk about social media. Twitter is quickly flushing down the toilet these days, but it been a very useful tool because a couple years ago I figured out like, oh, all these regional slash like local Americana, alt country, whatever you want to call it, singer songwriters hang out on Twitter and talk to each other all day.
Right.
So it's like I made a couple of connections, and that led to last summer I went down to Oklahoma for a few shows, and
Oh,
then
nice.
back in April I did a little festival down in Fort Worth, primarily through people I'd never met before that I just knew of from social media and from Twitter
Yeah.
and things like that, and now gonna do a little run at the end of this month with Matt Moran, my friend from Oklahoma, and Will Payne Harrison, a friend from Nashville, and I'm trying to get out and travel more. Right now I'm in the early planning stages. I don't know if it'll actually pan out, but at some point in the fall, I'd love to get out to the East Coast because I've never been out there.
I don't think I've even been out there just
Yeah,
to be
no,
out
I haven't.
there.
No, I haven't been out there. Period.
Yeah.
But you start to put it together. It's like, okay, well, I know somebody in Virginia, right? I know somebody who knows somebody in like
Yep.
the New York area,
Yeah.
right? And you start to put together how you can dot it all, right? And it's a whole other headache aside from like booking. It can be a nightmare as it is just trying to play any date you can get around here,
Yeah.
let alone like emailing every bar within a 50-mile radius of Louisville, Kentucky for one specific Saturday 4 months from now, right? It's a whole other hustle, but it's kind of a fun puzzle to put together, and it makes it easier when it's like because around here it's all about especially if you're trying to make money, you just do the whole show. You do 3 hours to 4 hours to whatever, solo, duo, full band, whatever. But then it's, at the end of the day, you get a guarantee and you get all that money.
Right.
Whereas like in terms of networking and getting your music out there more, the move might be better to do like 3-4 act bills, where you're not getting as much money, you're sharing it with more people, but you're also not playing as long.
Right.
You're not putting 4 hours on your voice, which is a problem I encounter a lot these days when I'm playing a lot of long shows. Just by the end of the weekend, I can't talk.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah, so that's been part of as well, figuring out all that. But it's been good because it's like that's the ideal of being a songwriter, being a musician, right? Is like traveling around, meet new people, going places you haven't been before. Like just yesterday, I was driving out to Naperville with Bill St. Clair, great guitar player. Had a gig with him out there, and we were just talking about travel and stuff. Bill's been playing for a lot longer than me. He's an older guy, although he's got more spring in his step some days than I do. But we're talking about like playing out in like California and things like that.
Man.
And he's been all over the place. So it's just like these days my focus in terms of that is on making more connections and trying okay, if you can help me out there, like I know a lot of bars in and around the Chicago area. I can help you find something up here.
Right.
Ideally, maybe we play a show together or whatever. It just becomes like a you scratch your back, I'll scratch yours kind of situation.
Yeah. And that's something you can't really get without social media.
Yeah,
The way
yeah.
that it is
No,
now.
Right.
'Cause
Yeah. That's you got to give the devil his due. As easy as it is to to
hate
talk
on
mess
it.
on social media because it's a pain in the ass. Of course it is. Like
Sure.
it's frustrating and sometimes it just feels like you're standing on top of a hill shouting into a void, but it's
Yeah.
also like social media and YouTube and the ease of use technology in terms of like home recording, home video, things like that. It's democratized the music industry in a way that it's never been before. Now
Absolutely.
you're not having to hang outside the radio station with your guitar hoping the guy will have you on for 5 minutes.
Right.
Right? So it makes a lot of the legwork a little easier.
No, and I say
I mean, one of my primary methods of booking still regionally is I'll go on the Region Music Facebook group.
Yeah.
It's a great group because they post about where all the music's happening every day. And I'll be like,
Yep.
well, I haven't reached out to them in a while, or I've never heard of that place. So it's
Yeah,
just,
right.
for the next hour, I'm just reaching out to every single place on the list because I know they book musicians at some point.
Yeah, right. Like they'll do it.
Yeah.
Give it someday.
Yeah.
Someday.
Yeah, right.
No. So this song that you're gonna perform for
Yeah.
us, what is it?
So it's a song called Towns. It's been one of my favorites to play recently. It's kind of about the way like depression and like kind of wallowing in it and all that kind of feeds into itself, especially in regards to sad music. Because I love sad music,
Yeah.
but at a certain point, it gets real self-indulgent. We're like, well, I'm sad, so I'm going to listen to sad songs so I can continue to be sad.
Right.
So I can just feel it. And it's a story song. It's some of my favorite stuff to write. And when I first wrote it, I thought, well, this is one of the most self-indulgent things I've ever written. Because it's ostensibly about one of my songwriting heroes, Towns Van Zandt, wearing his shirt right now. But everywhere I go, especially if there's more musicians in the crowd, people really feel it and identify with it because it's music and sad songs and feeling all that can be a very self-indulgent thing or just something you want to share, right? Or you want to feel for a little while, and that's a better way of handling it than running away from your negative emotions or all that. But the character in the song is, probably not still dealing with it in the most healthy way. So, it's a song called Towns. That's going to be on the album. Like I said, don't know exactly when it's coming out, but yeah, it's been one of my favorites to play recently.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on here. It's been a pleasure to be actually able to sit down and talk with you after
this is the
all
longest
these
conversation
years.
I've ever had with
Yeah.
you. It's been nice, man.
I was gonna say all of our conversations probably maybe add up to our whole conversation today.
Yeah, honestly.
But no,
yeah.
so it's been a pleasure. And I also want to thank everyone else for tuning in to Who's the Buzz, our second episode, and to make sure you watch all of our pages as well as James' pages for upcoming projects, whoever our next guest is going to be, and especially our event in August for the cancer benefit.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yep.
hope you all have a good one, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, man.